I have a special guest here today. Can we get a warm welcome to Eliora?
Hello.
Welcome
hello.
to the show.
Thank
How are you
you.
doing today?
I'm doing all right, staying as cool as I can.
Staying as cool as you can. We're looking up at the WHIP TV that we have in the studio now that's new. And it does give us the weather, and it is reminding us that it is 98 degrees outside today. It's very hot here in Philadelphia. Are you more of a summer person, a winter person, fall, spring? Like what season?
Absolutely fall. I have to. I mean, I'm from New England, so I love the foliage and like pumpkin patches and all of that. Classic.
I'm there with you, honestly. I'm right there with you. It's just, I hate winter, too cold. Summer, it's fine, but I get sick of the heat. Fall is just peak. It's absolutely peak.
Exactly.
And like Halloween and stuff.
Exactly.
All right, so we're going to get into talking about your new EP,
Woo.
Candy Hearts. Let's talk about the writing process for this EP. I want to know what was the first song that you wrote and what was the last song that you wrote.
Okay, for this, the first song that I wrote for this one was Loves Me Not. It actually was on the last EP before this, Butterflies Turn Into Stomach Bugs, as an acoustic version, because I had written it for a songwriting class while I was in college, and I wanted to get it out with the last EP and like have the song be out in the world, but I wanted it to be just sort of like a mellow version, so then once it came out with this EP, it could be more like plugged in, like full drums and all of that. Yeah. And then most recent is definitely Almost Dated. That one is sort of a sister song to another song on the last EP, Mars or Venus. It's the sequel to it.
Okay.
Yeah, that one came in September of last year.
Gotcha. So that leads me to ask you about what was the progression from your previous EP to this one. How do you feel like you've grown, and do you kind of go back and maybe listen to some of the old songs that you've recorded and it feels like you're listening to a memory of the past, and is it kind of a reminder of how you've grown?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very emotional person, and like just my feelings dictate a lot of what I do. And so anytime I'm like looking back on old lyrics or anything like that, I basically think of my lyrics as like my diary.
Right.
So I'll look at the songs and I'll be like, oh, I was going through that, and I was going through it.
Yeah.
And so it feels like sort of looking at a scrapbook. And so like lyrically, it's just sort of things that have happened in my life, but sonically, I definitely, I think the last EP had more of like the sort of quirky instrumentals that I've had with also the first few songs that I ever put out onto platforms. Whereas with this newer one, it's more of like traditional instruments of like guitar, drums, bass.
Right.
And I felt more solid with this one, and I still was able to experiment with like certain fun production elements, like different percussion and different sound effects that aren't normally in music, things like that.
Yeah, for sure. So we kind of talked about this a little bit before, but I want to know what music you were listening to while you created this EP. What artists were you listening to, and did you draw inspiration from those artists?
Absolutely. Let me pull up my little playlist. It's like a vision board but sound, so I call it a little soundboard. And there's some songs that like directly inspire songs on the EP versus like the lyrics being similar topics or like the vibe or things like that. Some of the biggest inspirations for this were Lisa Loeb, Olivia Rodrigo, Sabrina Carpenter, Soccer Mommy, Taylor Swift, a little bit of Biba Doobie, Chase Petra, yeah, and several more. But lots of, like, sort of indie rock and indie pop.
Mm-hmm,
and
for
then
sure.
just main pop as well.
Yeah, I definitely, like I said before, I definitely feel like I can hear those influences. Yeah. So, you wrote the EP. We bring it into recording. I would love to hear about that process of actually recording the EP and what it was like to bring these songs to life.
Yeah, so a lot of the production I do myself because I got a degree in music production, which sounds fake, but a lot of it always starts on just like me and guitar, or rarely me and piano, but sometimes. And then I had access to the studios at my old school, so I was able to record like vocals and like a nice have like the nice fancy microphones that they make you wait until you're not a freshman to use.
Yeah.
And I was able to get like nice guitar tones. I was able to bring in my friends because I am not personally very good at dealing with drum related things. And like, I theoretically know how to mic a drum set. I don't want to. Yeah. So yeah. I was able to like bring in my friends to do that for certain songs. And then I love background vocals so much. I did a lot of choir and like a cappella stuff in all throughout schools, elementary, middle, high school, college, all that. And so I was able to record that in the studio, but also just like in my apartment. It's not very soundproofed, and I'm sure if you like isolated the voice in like some of the tracks, you could probably hear like my cat moving around or things like that. But I just sort of stacked a bunch of stuff together. And then I also, there's a platform called Splice that has a bunch of like samples that you can use. You subscribe and then you get like tons of different audio recordings. Like the guitar for Espresso is on there. It's
really?
Great. Yeah, I found it and I was like, this is insane.
Wait a second.
But yeah, I'll find things from there. That actually helped start some of the songs. Was I would hear like a song starter, and I would be like, okay, this makes me feel this, and this, and so then I'd amalgamate it together.
Cool. Yeah, that's a kind of an interesting way to like. I always wonder, when people are making songs, it's like, what did you start with? Did you start with a feeling, a lyric, a song title? But sometimes I guess it can be a sample on Splice that inspires something there. Yeah, really cool. And also, I mean, that kind of leads me to ask about collaboration as an artist. And, you said that you had some friends come in and help mic the drums, and you went to school for music production, so I'm sure you were surrounded by a lot of people that were working in music or wanting to do music. So I'm curious about like, what is your experience with collaboration? Yeah,
one of my main collaborators on the two people that helped me the most with this were Jack Iris, who also went to school with me, and Grace Gardner, who's like indie pop singer-songwriter. Or more indie folk, I guess. And both of them were really helpful with the production process. Like, Grace recorded some electric guitar and some background vocals from their own studio and then sent it over. And Jack helped a bunch with, like, he would sort of run sessions while I was recording vocals, and he would, like partially, like, sort of vocal coach me, and then also like be like, okay, I like that idea, like try this now, and then try this and this. But yeah, because I put together sort of the skeleton of the song, and I'll have some specific ideas, and then I'll be like, okay, I've hit like a wall and there's a door, and then someone else needs to come in and open the door. I'm like, okay, I can keep going now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think collaboration is very important in music because everybody has their strengths and so it's really cool when creative and passionate people come together to make cool stuff.
Absolutely.
So that's really cool to hear. I want to backtrack a little bit and talk about your lyricism a little bit more. I was saying earlier that it reminds me so much of Taylor Swift, and especially her Fearless Speak Now Red eras. And I think what the specific thing about it that reminds me of Taylor Swift is like the storytelling aspect to it. So I'm just curious about what, you know, your writing process is like. Do you feel like you're telling stories? And yeah, just what is that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on Taylor Swift. Like any year that her album came out, it was usually around my birthday, so it was a very easy birthday gift for my mom to just be like, I'm going to Target, I'm getting the CD, we're good. And so I definitely am very influenced by her, and like I always love like storytelling. I read a ton of books as a kid. Like I loved watching like her music videos and all of that, and like just seeing all of the elements of that coming together. And so when I was like, okay, I want to start doing that because I'm like 10 and I'm like, oh my god, this is magical. I need to do that too. Yeah, her and Hannah Montana are the reasons I'm doing this now. And yeah, I also sometimes will write like poetry, or like I used to write like little short stories or things like that. So I like to sort of brain dump like, okay, I have this specific idea, or like this thing happened to me today. I'm going to like free write about it for a bit, and then I can go back and be like, okay, that line kind of goes hard. I'm going to like take that out of the context, and then I can like find other pieces and sort of like collage it together. And I'm like, okay, like the phrasing of that isn't quite right, but if I switch this word to a different word, then like it'll line up with the syllables and all of that.
It's like a puzzle.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it reminds me of like, I'm envisioning, we're talking about Taylor Swift, like the iconic getaway car where they're like, wait, like, I'm in a getaway car, you know,
the motel, but yeah,
with the money, yeah, and it's like, yeah, when it just clicks for you.
Anytime I'm like worried about the music industry, I watch that documentary. I'm like, yep, we're good.
We're all gonna be okay. Yeah, I mean, the one I mentioned this before as well, part in your song "Bite Me" from the new EP that I was like, this is just clever. This is just so clever. Is where you say, "I'm not and you might be," and there's different lyrics that lead into that. So I'm curious about like when something like that clicks for you, like how does that feel?
Yeah, it's so satisfying. Like with that, that song was an interesting time. It was based on an encounter with a type of man known as a frat bro, and having to, while extremely not sober, having to interact with him and unfortunately get to know him. And so like the first time that lyric comes up, it's when I say no thanks, you act like I'm the worst person in the room, and I'm not, but you might be. And it's like, obviously I'm not a bad person for saying, no, I don't want to go to the basement and hook up with you. Thank you. And so it's sort of that like back and forth of like, I'm not, but you're a strong contender right now.
Right. It's calling out like the hypocrisy.
Exactly.
There. Yeah.
Exactly. And then the next time around, it's you ask if I'd be into hooking up, and then I say some naughty words, and then I say I'm not, and you might be, because in this case I'm not interested. He might be is a kind and gentle way. It was I'm gonna leave it where it is. But yeah, it's always so fun because in a very similar way to Taylor, like she talks about putting a sort of spin on like common phrases or things like that.
Right.
I also love doing that so much, and like just fun wordplay is always. I'm just having fun, and it happens to line up in the song. I'm like, excellent, we're good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, that is something I notice. And one other kind of Taylor Swift-esque thing that I notice is just like you know, people always say she does that and another thing.
Oh, yeah.
Thing. And I feel like I sense that with your music as well, where it's just, I love, it's so satisfying to listen to for me. That's why, like, I love The Other Side of the Door, because it's very, like, and one more thing, and one more thing. Like, yeah, speak your mind. I love it. They're just, really satisfying to listen to.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to ask a little bit about playing live. more specifically in the Philly scene, I would love to just kind of hear about your experience in the Philadelphia music scene.
Yeah, I have played a ton of shows since, like, at this point. My first official, like, Eliora show was in a basement in this area in North Philly in 2022 in the summer, and my guitar was not really in tune. I was, like, really nervous, but I had a group of friends there, and it ended up being fine. And, like, I got a bunch of new, like, listeners and friends and all that, which was awesome. And then I've played a bunch of, like, other DIY venues. Like, there's been some basements, there's been some living rooms, there's been... I haven't played Philly style yet, but, like...
It's going to be a rite of passage maybe one day.
Exactly, manifesting it. And then this past summer... No, before that. The past year and a little more, I've started getting shows booked at places like Silk City Diner, Kung Fu Necktie. I even played a show at World Cafe Live in the lounge. Yeah. Follow Save World Cafe Live on Insta. But yeah, it's been cool. Especially I started working with like an indie manager that also works with my friend Rachel Reale, who was on here recently. And she's been very helpful with, like, booking shows around. It's mainly like if a tour is coming through and they're like, oh, we need a local opener, she'll, like, submit a list of a few names, and sometimes they'll pick me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I was picked, yay. And then I get to, like, meet them, become friends, meet their listeners, and then usually it works out where, like, our sounds are similar enough that, like, we can have some crossover. Yeah, it's been really fun, and I had, like, a sort of a album release show for this EP that came out on actual Valentine's Day, and that was really fun. That was with Kennedy Shaw and Bren, both local girlies. That was really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying is what's so cool about the Philly scene is that it's not just that there's a ton of people who are doing music, but there are also a ton of very talented people who are doing PR and managing and media for artists. And it's kind of like this really cool ecosystem here in Philly of young creative people all working together, which is super cool to hear. Yeah, so you've played these songs live, right? So what is it like to bring songs to a live audience?
It's an interesting process. Like, some of the songs are very, like, sort of bare bones, I guess you could say. Like, for example, like, Almost Dated on this EP is just guitar and vocals, and it has a ton of background vocals because it needed it, but, like, when I'm performing it, it's not all that different from how the recording sounds versus, like, depending on if I have, like, a band with me or if I'm playing with tracks versus just me and a guitar, it's a very different setup. So trying to sort of... It's very strange to arrange your own music. Like, if you're performing with a band, it's, like... I've heard the drums that are programmed in the song. I don't necessarily know how to be like, okay, do that, but also if you want to do something different, go crazy. Yeah. And so having to sort of put that together is very strange, but it's a good challenge for me. So I don't like telling people what to do. Yeah. And then for acoustic songs, I mean, that's how I write them. So that is definitely a lot easier. And then, like, for certain songs, like with Bite Me, I sort of wrote this little, like, preamble to it that I do when I perform it live, where I frame it like I've been doing some field research recently, and, like, I discovered this new species, and they all live together, and they love each other, and then I'm like, of course, they're frat bros, and then I lead into the song Bite Me, and that one's very fun, and it often gets laughs, which, like... it fulfills my mini dream of getting to do stand-up comedy where I don't absolutely eat it on stage.
Yeah.
So that's always very fun.
Yeah. No, I think it is fun to bring in, like, bits to a show.
Yeah.
I love when I'm at a show, especially when, like, maybe it's an artist that I don't know very well, and they're like, okay, well, we're going to do this, like, you know, hot to go sort of thing, where it's like, here's the dance, or here's the lyrics that you need to know, or here's the story about this song, and I feel like that's really fun, and a fun and engaging way to include the audience.
Absolutely.
And then, you know, when you're performing these songs live, it's a very vulnerable thing. So how do you kind of combat that feeling of almost like, I mean, you said that these songs are kind of like your diary. So how do you combat that vulnerability on stage?
It's very interesting. I mean, for the most part, like, I'll write songs about real people, but often those people will not be in the room with me when I'm performing. Like, barely any of the time. Maybe like once or twice it's happened. Yeah. So that helps already. But I don't know. I feel like I also am a very open person. Like, when I'm talking with my friends, I'll be like, and here's all the details that you didn't need to know. So performing it for strangers, I'm like, okay, like, you guys don't know me. I don't know you. You might not see me ever again. Here's how I feel on this, and this day. Here's all the deep, dark emotions that I had. Like, I sort of, I don't know. I've worked a lot on, like, trying to be more vulnerable, like, externally. Yeah. And so performing is sort of like exposure therapy, I guess. And also I've done lots of performing, like I said, with the choirs and a cappella and stuff. So I was able to get comfortable on stage before having to also get comfortable with, like, my own music and words on stage at the same time. So I think that helped a lot, like, just having sort of experience on the stage. And I also did musical theater in middle and high school, and that definitely helps because you have to, like, there's a whole lot of moving parts going on, but you sort of learn how to, like, build up a character. And so I also, like, I'll wear a curly pink wig, and I'll, like, wear ridiculous shoes and, like, a colorful dress, and I'll be like, okay, here's Eliora on stage. And then I can also sort of, like, distance myself from that and be like, okay, like, she's up there telling my stories.
Yeah.